Sign.
I picked up this form about.
You're up on.
Thursday.
Well, while they're finishing out the last little bit of technical issues, setting up technical. Good evening, start out the meeting today. Let's see, I was not gonna be here, except for they moved my surgery up 1 week. I got a titanium upgrade. And then I woke up and I said, let's go walk down the hall. And I'm like, okay. It's amazing what they can do. Yeah. We got Seth doing our presentation today. Anybody have any? Hello?
Nothing. I was just going to tell Seth that he could just answer questions if he wanted. Are you trying to do a presentation, Cowwood?
Sure. I don't know how much time do I even have. You want me to speak?
Yes.
Yes.
We'll shut you down when it's.
Okay.
when
I'll
it's
try to
time's
go
up.
through it quickly though.
Yeah.
Are you ready to share?
That's right.
3, 2, 1, 0.
Share.
Like you did before, however you did it.
Yeah.
I got it in the box. Oh, sorry.
Usually it starts with F5.
Good.
Yeah. There you go.
Well, all right.
Yeah, maybe.
I've been asked to come here today to more or less just kind of talk over what's going on this month in May, answer questions, and so I appreciate you for the invite. And there's a lot of you that I know and I've seen, and obviously we're grateful for. If you don't know, again, I'm Seth Homer. I'm the owner of Homer's Honeybee, and so I just want to first say thank you for all of you who've supported us through the years. I really appreciate it. Honestly, we wouldn't be here with a lot of you, so thank you. I'm a commercial beekeeper. I have over 900 hives, colonies that I manage, and but I also have the backyard mentality as I manage our hives. My dad, he kind of started us, and he started us with one hive, and he kind of grew from there. And as we got big enough, he brought me on to kind of do our little expansion and kind of go more on the commercial side. But we took a lot of the practices that he got, that I learned from through backyard beekeeping. So we use a lot of those same methodologies and thinking with our own hives that we do today, just on a bigger scale. So obviously our mission for our company is to really help educate, help beekeepers be successful, to understand how to keep a healthy hive and ways that you can keep a hive through winter. Obviously that's everybody's goal, right? Keep healthy bees, make it through winter, be self-sufficient and self-sustaining. We supply bees every year, but I don't need, you shouldn't need me, right? You should need yourselves, and so that's our goal. So today we're going to talk about May, and why May is so important.
Can we dim the overhead lights?
Sorry, my background's dark, so that doesn't help. So for May, we have to understand there's a lot of things happening. May is the month of building up, right? For any new beekeepers who have started their hive, your hive is slowly growing, and May, after that first month, when they're finally starting to lay brood and it's starting to hatch, now we all of a sudden have this explosion of growth. And so that's where we're in right now. The nectar's flowing, and the things that we do during this month, during the build-up state of the year, will really affect on how our hive the outcome of our hive will be as we progress moving forward. And so it's really important to, as we'll talk about in a little bit, some of the things that we can do now to help our hive progress the way it should without having any fallbacks.
Question?
Yeah.
Do you think the nectar flow is different this year because of the frost we had?
I think a lot of things are different this year. Honestly, this is kind of, it's thrown me for a loop as well. Our bees started way early, early in February, where normally it's mid to early March. And so everything's moved ahead. Obviously, we've also had some cold spells, so it's kind of slowed things down a little bit. And so it's one of those things where we're all, in some ways, learning together how to address the change. And so, yes, I think the flow's on at the same time. I think it just depends on where you're at and the temperature. So this month, we have to understand what our bees are trying to do. Our job as a beekeeper isn't to manage the instincts of the bees. No, we're not fighting what they're trying to do. They're trying to expand their brood nest. They're bringing in pollen, nectar, and obviously we're dealing with swarming, we're reproducing, and we're starting to add on supers. My question, I'm just curious, how many of you have lost a hive to swarming? How early? Just recently?
Yeah,
Okay.
we had 2 hives, and out of those 2 hives, we split one, and we had 4 swarms.
Okay. Multiple swarms, okay.
Kind of struggling.
Are we still finding swarms?
I got one last night.
Okay.
Last week,
Last week? Okay. I'm just curious, because I'm just curious to know,
2 days.
because at some point, usually once we start hitting June, that kind of slows down. The swarm season is slowing down. So I didn't know.
It started slowing down.
Okay, that's kind of what I was thinking. And so, I was just curious to see how that goes. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on swarming for that reason. So really quick, a lot of this is going to be a refresher for all you older beekeepers. For the new beekeepers, this is important to understand. I've had multiple calls from individuals who have started their hive about a month ago with a package, and here we are a month later, and their hive hasn't grown. We're not seeing some of the signs. With here, we're seeing, we want to see eggs, we want to see larvae, we want to see those larvae swimming in brood, we call it brood milk or brood food. We want to see lots of development of the brood. So, and we want to see multiple frames. Queens should be laying multiple frames of brood. We want to have a consistent brood pattern where it's nice and full. We want to see food resources. So we got pollen. We want some pollen. We want to see the honey, the nectar, or maybe you're feeding them syrup. We want to see all those signs of a healthy growing hive. obviously when you're first starting, the foraging is going to be a little slower. That's why we feed the bees to kind of assist them in their growth process, so they have what they need to expand on their brood nest. So as I do my inspections, I like to focus on a few things. And this is something that you just need to get in your mind on what to look for. And the first thing I like to look for is I like to make sure my queen's present in the hive. We talked about outside. If I'm seeing eggs, then I know that she's been present in the hive for the last 3 days, and I don't need to go looking for her, every single time and try to find her, because that's just increasing the risk of her mortality. Okay, and so if I see eggs, then great. I really don't need to look much farther as far as her being there. I want to look at the larvae. I want to look at the cap brood. We saw in that perfect example in the hive out there, we saw what looked to me as a foul brood. Spotty brood pattern, dying larva. Those are reasons why we get in the hive, to know what if something's happening. Now, if I didn't look in my hive for a month or so, then I have a problem, right? I have a dying hive, and they're going to struggle and most likely not recover. So it's important to do inspections regularly, especially during the first period.
What does regular you mean?
I would say if you're starting a hive, that first month is really crucial. I would be getting in there every week just to make sure things are going smoothly, especially those first couple weeks, making sure that queen is there, that we're not going to all of a sudden be queenless and then have something happen. So I need to be consistent in that.
With the hive out there, did you guys do the rope test?
I did not.
Okay.
The reason I did not is, and I could have, I've seen it honestly enough to know that it's not that. I didn't see perforated cells, so I didn't see any dying capped pupa or dying larvae under the cap. I saw a lot of open cap with dying larvae in there. So that to me is an indication that it's most likely a European foul brood.
Okay.
But that's not a bad idea. If you see dying larvae, you can do a little rope test. And that's just taking a twig or something, you just swirl that little larva inside and pull it out. And if you get kind of a snotty ropiness to that larva, that's usually an indication of American foul brood. If you don't get that, then it's usually not. If you do see that, I would recommend calling the county or state inspectors to have them come check it out. They would rather you be on the safe side without it spreading if it was American foul brood. And then that way also you can start the process of getting an antibiotic by having your vet come visit you and go through that process. So important, very important brood, right? We want to make sure there's plenty of honey, plenty of pollen in the hive. The nutrients, the nutritional value of pollen and honey, that's what's going to push the hive forward. That stimulates the brood growth in the hive. If we're absent of nectar or pollen, then they're not going to grow. And that's another reason why we like to feed them to start with, is that stimulates them to raise brood.
How long do you feed a new hive typically?
It depends on what your goal is. For me personally, I like to build my hives up quickly. One, I like to take advantage of the nectar flow, and so I like to try to get some honey off of my bees. And so, in order to do that, I need to feed them so they'll brood, grow that brood quickly, build the comb. They use the sugar to make wax, and so that's another reason why we give them feed. And the 1-to-1 is what you use to help them raise to build wax. And then, we're gonna go through that. And so I'll feed them all the way through their second box, help them build that out.
Okay.
And then once they get that, then I put my super on and I'm done.
So pretty much the whole month of May.
Just as they need it. So if that's maybe every other week, just depends on what they need at that time. If you let them go naturally, which is totally fine, that's fine. Just know that their growth is going to be a lot slower, and you probably won't get honey off of them their first year. So it's your style and management on how you what your goals are with your hive. Queen. So her brood pattern to me is her report card, and so if I have a great queen, I'm going to have a really good tight brood pattern, right? She's laying like crazy. If a hive is struggling and they're not growing, you know, I see her brood pattern. Maybe it's spotty, maybe it's smaller, whatever it is. That's indication to me that she's probably a failing queen. She's not going to get going. Now, I know a lot of you get really attached to your queens. Maybe even name them a little bit, or you know, that makes it a little harder to pinch her if needs be. Now, you have to think of it as, you know, how am I benefiting my hive if I leave a failing queen in there, hoping that she turns around and starts laying eggs and just goes to town? Most likely that's not going to happen. So you're just losing a lot of valuable time hoping that this queen is going to do something that's not going to happen. So, unfortunately, you know, that's, again, part of beekeeping. You might have to get in there, pinch your queen, and at this point, if you're starting a new colony and it's a smaller hive, I would just buy a queen and put one in, because the time that it takes them to raise a new queen and raise that brood, it's going to take 7 weeks or so until you get new brood hatching out, and that's your hive really can't sustain itself, and it's really going to hinder their growth.
In the case of that hive out there, if the treatment works, is it good to replace the queen, or is it just that if the treatment works, it'll work on her too?
She was laying really well. We just had a lot of sick brood.
Yeah.
So if you looked in there, it is all full of eggs and larvae, but we had a lot of dying larvae.
Yeah.
And so, maybe that's a genetic thing, I don't know. But, I'm going to treat them, I'm going to see how they do, and see if they can bounce back.
And if they start feeding her and that they have those resources, that may help also.
Sure, yeah. And so,
Seth, have you ever seen a queen actually turn it around?
no.
Okay, so when it looks bad, just get rid of her.
Just end it.
So Nellie's
Cut
gonna
that
die?
relationship. Make us,
Nellie's gonna
make a
die?
ceremony. Whatever you got to do to make you feel better about the process. But yeah, the best thing to do with the time that you have is just best to replace it.
Because you basically lost your season there.
Yeah. If you just let it go and just hope that, like I said, that spring buildup is really critical. We got a lot of resources coming in. And once you get hot in summer,
She's not going to wake up and smell the coffee. Okay.
Do you have a trick for, I have a cranky hive I'd like to requeen, but she's unmarked. I've never seen her to remove her.
Okay. Well, something you could do, you can limit her down to a smaller space. So
Well, I tried bringing brood up and a queen excluder, and I still could not find her.
Okay.
It's like there's just so many bees on every frame, and
So in that case, either have someone come in to help you. If you want to shake all of these down to one box, then put a queen excluder on, and then put everything back together and go in the next day. You know she's in the bottom box. That way you're just looking through 10 frames. Hopefully you find her instead of trying to look through.
I don't use foundation, and so my girls are quite creative. They build a lot of those waves, and sometimes I think like she's just right around
Very well, could be,
those
yeah, hiding in there,
hiding spots.
yeah, very well could
I'll
happen.
try to shake them all down.
Seth, how many years do queens usually?
In my experience, I rarely see a 3-year-old queen. 2 years is, I feel like, I wouldn't let them go more than 2 years. After then, the chances of them either requeening or her failing is pretty high. And so I like to give them better chances, and so I like to requeen more frequently every year, or at least every other year. The worst thing you can do, the worst time, it's the timing thing. So if you get a queen, that's 2 years old, going on to 3, and here we are coming into fall, and they decide, hey, she's failing, we're going to replace her. Now our chances of hoping that the weather's still good, it's going to be warm enough. So it's you almost sometimes need to do it on your time. You're still doing it what they want to do, but in a timely manner. If that makes sense.
So don't believe those Germans who claim 8-year-old queens.
I mean,
I've read some
maybe
of
they
them
have, but
do
usually
many
it's
years.
usually what it depends is 3 to 5 years. But I think as genetics have been diluted down, and I just don't think they're what they used to be. And so that's just my experience. Yeah.
What do you, when you're doing this requeening, and I'm brand new to this, so some of the jargon's lost on me.
Sure.
Do you get the new queen first, or do you ditch the old queen, or do you do it all at one time? I mean,
A
how
lot
long
of
do
that, in my experience, a lot of that just depends on the strength of your hive.
Right, I mean, if you're requeening and pinching.
Right. So if you have a really strong hive and she's failing, then it might be worth giving her a day, giving that hive a day without a queen. So
Okay.
you're gonna pinch her, and then maybe get the queen the next day and put her in. If it's a small little hive and you gotta replace her, I'll pinch her and put a new queen right then and there.
So then when you replace her, you use one of the little keeper in a keeper, so she'll get used to it and stay there?
Usually when you get a new queen, they come in a little cage.
Oh, they do? Oh, that's a good
At
point.
least that's how I give them out. So they come in a little
That's good.
cage.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, so that way,
Flying in.
And it takes about 3 or 4 days for them to eat through the candy?
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it'll take a few days, depending on the
Oh.
candy. Because if you just throw the queen in after you pinch her, most likely she's gonna die. So
Well, that's what I was
there's a
wondering.
queen pheromone in the hive that needs to,
Go away.
go away.
Uh-huh.
And so it'll take usually, a day or so for that to happen.
Okay.
But again, with the small hive, they'll accept her a lot quicker, that new queen.
We don't have to worry about any exceptions. We don't have anybody yet. Good hive. Still.
So,
So you're-
how many colonies do you keep?
we're learning.
So I have over
We
900.
had 4.
So usually not 950.
And we were gonna try and get the last time I was talking to you.
Again, we kind of already went over this, so we want that solid pattern. If we're seeing like we'll get out there, some spotty pattern, that's, we need to dig a little deeper and figure out what's going on. Things that we're looking for, signs of swarming, what are some signs of swarming? Congestion,
Swarm cells.
swarm cells, we got drones, we got, the temperatures are right. If we got, if you have a lot of honey coming in and it's approaching on the brood, so there's they're starting to put nectar in where the brood's supposed to be. They're getting honey bound. That usually will help trigger a swarm to occur.
And you really did have an early one. One of my hives threw a swarm at the end of March. But I had to go to California because my sister died unexpectedly. So I think we have to you can't count on the months. You
Yeah,
have to
no,
just-
you can never base your bee season on a calendar month. Every year's going to be different, so that's where learning how to read a hive is really important, and knowing those signs will help you make that educated decision. Right, that's kind of the art of beekeeping is be able to read
But isn't swarming a good thing if you're not gonna have a whole yard full of beehives?
Well, swarming is, it's a sign of a healthy hive.
Oh, okay, okay.
But we don't, I don't want to lose half of my bees to somebody else.
And your neighbor may not
And
want
your
your swarm.
neighbor may not
We have
like
four
it.
swarms in our tree, so they have to get used to it.
So obviously there's some methods to help reduce and prevent swarming, adding supers earlier, checkerboarding your frames up. We're trying to be a little proactive and give them space early.
Do you checkerboard the very bottom box too, where you have brood, just to add more room down there?
You could. If you wanted to pull some brood frames up to super, and yeah.
So when you say checkerboard, do you mean like a honey frame and then a frame with like no foundation on it and then?
So checkerboarding, so it's every other frame, and usually if I'm adding to the brood box, I'm usually adding empty frames, whether that's, if you have drawn comb, that's beneficial, because they can all use it right away. If it's foundation, they still have to build that wax. That
So
time out.
you
And
do
so-
that in the brood boxes, you're going to checkerboard it, is that what?
Yeah,
Okay.
so I'll pull those brood frames up to the honey super. And put
Okay,
it-
you'll pull the brood frames up to the
Yeah,
honey
because I need to put those brood frames somewhere, so I'm relieving the congestion
in the
in the
bottom?
brood nest.
Okay,
And so if I have my 2 boxes, usually I like to take out of the top because these like to build up, so if they have room above them, they feel a little more relieved with pressure. And so if I can take brood frames out of the top and put some empty ones in there, I gotta put my brood frames somewhere. So I'll put them in my honey super and checkerboard them in. And then, shake all the bees off, put a queen excluder down, and then put that honey super on with those checkered brood
Okay.
frames in there. To alleviate, to kind of give them more space.
more space, okay.
When it says improve ventilation, how does that, you just like drill holes in it or?
No, like for example, like a double, like a screen bottom board, will help. Again, it's the temperature. It's kind of like if you have a lot of bodies in there. It goes along with congestion in the
Yeah,
hive.
'cause it's supposed to be really hot summer, so it's just, if we get bees.
Yeah. Well, once we get to a point, we shouldn't have really much swarming after that. When we get pretty hot.
Okay.
One thing that happens too often is we wait too long. You obviously get in there, sometimes life gets in the way and you come back a month later and you're plugged up with honey. This is obviously, this hive's going to swarm, if they haven't already. So we need to make sure we're in there at a timely manner before they start filling this up, so that they can add the food where it needs to be. This is a honeycomb hive, this is all the brood that's hatching out, and all these empty spots are necked down. So they're filling it all up. And so eventually, if we just let that happen, they're going to fill all that brood up with honey, and it minimizes the space that the queen can lay. And so if that goes on way too long, then your hive population will also decrease as well. Because now she can't lay as much, she's restricted to a smaller space. So space management is really important this time of year. So make sure you keep an eye on that. Should we still feed? I think that all just depends on where your hive is at. Overwintered hives, I would say probably to the point where you're adding your honey supers on. Do you feed with honey supers on? No. We don't want the syrup in our honey frames. So, is your hive still building? Okay, if it is, then I would say feeding is still an option. Especially right now where if we have prolonged cold spells, like you're at higher elevation where the bees are inside the hive longer and they can't get out and forage, then feeding is probably a good idea. If we have no food coming into the hive, it will slow down the brood growth. So they're only going to raise brood up based on what they're bringing in. Yeah, so pollen, obviously, same thing with pollen. If we have that long duration, the pollen patty would probably be beneficial for the bees. Right now, usually this time of year, I feel like Utah is really good for pollen. I don't see that we have a lack of pollen. And so I feel like feeding a pollen patty is, for me anyways, more of a spring buildup.
If they're honey bound and you add a super on, will they move the honey up?
No, if it's capped, it's already in its place, they're gonna leave it. So then what you would do is you would move the honey frames up. And then,
Just wondering, like, if you've been feeding them, so they have the sugar syrup down
okay,
there.
well,
Will they ever migrate it up there?
no, I mean, they'll use it eventually, right? And as they raise the brood. But that's again, you can overfeed, and we don't want to overfeed, so make sure, again, it's a space management. If I feel like they're getting plugged up because I'm feeding them every week, I should probably stop and let them use what they have. Otherwise, I'm going to run into that same problem of them backfilling the brood nest, so they can't grow.
So after we split one of our hives, that bottom box was, completely full between brood and pollen and honey. So we put that second super on top, and they haven't touched it really. There's very little comb in there, and it's been a while.
Is that when you checkerboard?
And they're really not. There is a little bit of comb that they're building, but not very much at all. We put a pollen patty in there.
How old is the hive?
Well, we had to split it, but the
Okay.
bees that we split into there, that bottom super was full.
Okay.
And they're just not moving into that top super at all.
And you got brood in there?
That was one of the questions we had. This is long drawn out, let's get to it. We've been through about $200 in queens already. We got to the point where we have a hive and we know for a fact there's a queen in there, but when we open it up, they're still producing queen cells. Like there's no queen, and yet there's brood and there's eggs.
There's no queen?
Well, there is a queen.
Oh, there is a queen.
We know there's a queen. We have another one of the other hives. We haven't seen her, but there's brood and there's eggs, so we know she's in there. But it's kind of the same way. They're really not doing anything with that top super. And when they had swarmed, we actually had a honey super on it already, because both of those supers were full of bees.
So have
We should have saw it.
have you fed them?
We've been feeding them.
And they take the syrup down?
Yeah, they go through, we have the little quart feeders on the front, and we go through those. Every 2 days, we'll go through one of those. We put pollen patties in there, and they haven't touched
So
it.
you remove your queen, and then you put a new queen in?
We started with the 2 hives, and then we split the 1 hive. So this was the split. So we had the queen from the split. If that makes sense.
The original queen.
Yeah, we have the original queen in.
Okay. But when you're introducing a new queen, you got rid of the old queen, put the new queen in. You said
On the other hives, yes.
Oh, okay.
On the other hives, yes.
So now you're just wondering why they're not building out.
Yeah, because I heard you mention you should be to the point where you're putting
Yeah.
honey supers on.
So when she's laying, you got a good brood pattern. Is there enough bees in there? How many frames of
Yeah,
bees do they have?
there's 10 frames.
Full of bees.
Yeah, full of bees on the bottom,
Okay.
but you take the cover off.
So one thing I would do is I would pull some brood frames up to the top.
Okay.
And so grab, uncapped or capped frames of brood, pull them up in the second box, and you can keep them together. You can space, checkerboard them, pull a couple frames of brood, and then put the empty frames down below. And usually, if you pull them up, it kind of helps force the bees up there and start building off of those frames.
Do you have a notched inner cover?
Yeah.
So you see them coming in and out of that notched cover?
I mean, you'll pull the top off and you'll look inside, there's a smattering of bees, but it's not, I mean, you're talking maybe 10, 20 bees on each frame, nothing more. But they have plenty of room to move, we're feeding them, and they're just.
So that's what I do, I just pull some brood frames up, see if they'll build off of that.
What would cause them to have like a whole frame of drone?
That's usually a good sign, because they think the hive is doing well, and a lot of drone usually is successful.
Is this
All
foundation
drone
or
is not good.
We'll show you a picture.
Okay. I was gonna say, maybe we can talk about after, try to solve, do a little bit protective work.
West Jordan.
So obviously, we can't move forward without talking about mites. That is something that we should always have in mind and try to work on and make sure our hives are healthy. And that's maintaining the levels of the mites in the hive. Even my worry this year is because our hives started earlier in February. I think that just means the populations of mites are going to grow and build up earlier and sooner in the fall or even in the summer. And so make sure you're on top of your mites. I would learn to do mite tests. Make that a habit. It's a good tool to have as part of your inspections. And with mite tests, I usually do once a month. I usually start in June. Just to give you a reference, to really know whether you need to treat sooner than later. Testing for mites, again, it's one of those things where we don't want to just base our mite treatments off of the calendar, because we can't do that. Every year is going to be different, right? And so you need to, again, read the hive, do your mite tests, and if you're finding that your mite counts are getting higher, then you need to treat sooner than waiting until fall. And that, depending on when you treat them, will depend on what you use. So that's something you want to do. Obviously, there's different ways to do mite tests. My methodology is an alcohol wash or a soap solution, fungus soap solution. I feel like it has a better, more accurate reading. When I do it, I'm pulling brood frames that are uncapped brood. Those are where the nurse bees are going to be located, and those are the bees that I want to test. They're the most recent bees that have been hatching out of the brood, and most likely that's where the mites are going to be.
If you don't know how to do a mite test, ask your mentor to come and help you. If you can't find a mentor, then ask the club to find you a mentor to help you, because to do a test is pretty simple, but a lot of people won't do it.
There are a number of YouTube videos about doing the alcohol wash too.
Yeah. I have one on my website as well. But yeah, there's lots of videos. So get out there, learn how to do it. And honestly, if you can understand the life of a mite, it'll help you kind of give that push of why it's so important. And so I'd say that's a homework assignment, right? Go research a row mite life cycle.
It's mother, son, sex, it's wild stuff.
At the same time, the early springtime, especially for younger colonies, it can be really a stressful time as well. We see signs of stress, when we're overworked, when we're not, the environment's not right. and we're working harder than we should to make it an environment to stay in. For example, to stay warm. If it's cold outside and we have fewer numbers of bees, and we can't get out and forage on food, and there's a lot of different factors that can cause these stresses, which can also lead to different viruses, viruses or diseases. Obviously, mites are usually a carrier of those viruses, but we want to make sure, and that's another reason why we like to feed, is to kind of relieve the hive of those stresses. And so, and again, we're looking at the brood patterns. So, let me go back. Have you guys seen these diseases? Or chalk brood, European foul brood, sack brood, or no? That's a little delayed. Okay. Anybody other than today, have anybody seen that in your hives or witnessed that? Okay, remember that?
Last year from fall brood, last year?
European?
Yeah.
Okay.
How do you recognize like sack brood and nosema strains?
You really have to look at some pictures. Sack brood is the larva. It kind of lays upside down, kind of, and it kind of curves up. It kind of turns into a sacky balloon kind of thing. It's you kind of have to see it to recognize it, but.
There are photographs of all of these on there.
Yeah.
Chalk brood is very distinct.
Yeah, chalk brood, usually you see chalk brood on the bottom board, out the entrance, you'll see these little chalky,
Corpses.
It's a fungus,
Yeah.
a little corpse that the larva kind of mummifies, and the bees pull it out and drop it down, and it's a fungus, and so usually you see more of that coming out of winter time, and there's not really a treatment for that. They say to replace your queen, feed them, split the hive apart. There's lots of different things, but
Me, I burn the hive.
burn the hive. I mean, because the fungus obviously that can carry over.
Yeah.
And so, again, some of those are decisions. If you want to start over, you can let it run its course. It's a virus, some of these are just viruses, so sometimes you just gotta let it run its course and to clear up. And a lot of them do, but some of them, like the foul broods, you gotta have to have a treatment for them. Again, if you see these signs, don't wait. Like this, so if you had a side-by-side hive, and if one was spotty or the queen's not doing so well, and you just kind of let it wait and just to see what happens, this is what's going to happen, is that one's going to go blowing up and this one's going to just stay behind. Now this one, to try to catch up to that one, is going to be really tough. And for them to get ready for the winter time, this one's going to struggle and you're going to have to baby it all year round. And so it's really, the quicker you can act upon stresses or any problems in the hive, the better off you are. So obviously some common mistakes, we got to finish up here. Some common mistakes from especially newbies is they're afraid to check the hive and we don't check it enough. That's when we run into issues. That's when I get phone calls saying, hey, I need a queen. It's been 3 weeks since, 3 weeks to a month since I checked the hive. I just better look at it, and now it's almost too late. So, adding, space, not giving enough space soon enough. Missing swarms of procedure cells. What is in there? If you see swarm cells or supersedure cells, that's when you need to make some decisions. I usually don't knock them off until I've looked through the hive and figured out what's going on. And then I have some options. If I want to keep the superseder cells, the hive is telling you something if you see these things. And so we need to keep our eyes open and kind of know what we're looking at. And obviously overfeeding, especially during the nectar flow, getting them honey bound. And then the big one is not doing anything for mites. Eventually that's going to come back around and really damage your hive. If you don't do anything your first year, sometimes you can get away with it. It's usually your second year that comes around is when we see the effects of no treatments. And then obviously we wait a little too long to so if you have questions about stuff, again, let's turn to your mentor, turn to the association. I'm available. It's better to ask than to avoid it and not do anything at all.
Just embrace the fact that you're an ignoramus and it's okay to look stupid.
Yeah.
We were all that stupid and ignorant at some point.
Yep. Even though you think a drone cell is a queen cell, it's okay. All it takes is knowing what that is the first time, and you can recognize that the next time. So these are some things that I recommend to do this month. Obviously, we're coming towards the end of the month. And so I probably should put some things maybe to look forward to for the next month. But really, these are the things that kind of need to be focused on helping your hive prepare itself for winter right now by supporting them and you're just assisting them in what they want to do. And so we just need to make sure we're in tune with that as well.
May I make a plug for keeping notes? Unless you truly believe that you are that unique animal, the unicorn, and you will remember from one year to the next, keep
Weeks
notes.
to the next, yeah.
Keep notes.
And we have hive inspection sheets on our website under beekeeping. And so it guides you as to what you're supposed to be looking at.
I usually like to start giving our hives a rating, so from 1 to 10. So, my rating is, a 3, for example, is like a nuke size hive. A full one box is a 5. And as they kind of progress into the second box, and you kind of rate them, print your own rating. What that does for me also, aside from keeping little data notes and things like that, is it helps me know, from the last time I looked, it was a 3. Now I they've added a frame or 2. Now it's a 4 or a 5. I can kind of see that progression. And so now if I go and it was a 5 or 6, and I come back and now it's like a 5 or even 4, like it's shrunk.
Are you like frame counting?
Not necessarily. You can come up with your own. Like that's just my thinking of what it should be. You can kind of make up your own. But it's something that you can look at and know whether it's progressing or if it's digressing.
So you can track it, yeah.
I like that idea. And then also this season I've been using the app, the Hive Logger, and I love it.
Nice. Yeah, and there's app software.
Hive Logger.
Hive Logger.
Hive Logger, Apple Log.
Yeah, I like the Hive Logger because you can do a voice memo. So you can just say, I saw the queen, there's eggs, larvae cap brood, or there's spotty drone brood, and it'll like.
Yeah, no, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Anything that you can do to and not lose track of.
You can go permanent marker, write it on the
Permanent marker, old school. So that's what I got for you guys today. Do you guys have any questions as we end, or if you do, feel free to talk to me.
I do have a question.
Excellent, thank you.
Yeah, I'm gonna let you go. My phone's gonna die.
Kind of more of a general, he's just starting out and wants to get some bees. We don't have anything yet, but we're wanting to. I know it's kind of late into the season. Is it too late? Is there such thing as too late, or can we still do that this year?
No, there's still time to start. Just know you're probably kind of almost past the, maybe getting big enough for honey. Our focus, especially the first year beekeeper, is really hive health. Get them healthy enough to prepare for winter. Overwinter them. The next year is kind of that rewarding year. If they overwinter, they're going to get big enough for that honey flow. And so, there's still time if you want to get into bees.
About a week ago, we saw on the Facebook site that said, like, people that have tons of nukes available.
Yeah.
Would you suggest going with that route and getting a nuke from
Right.
somebody?
This time of year, I'd say go for a nuke.
Okay.
Packages, I think.
Too late.
There's probably no one that will have that.
Is there a better place to get nukes from, just somebody from the?
I'm all sold out. I can give you a reference to a friend who has some, but there's some.
I have a resource that's really good.
But there's some
I
online
have
too.
a resource for nukes that are really.
Well, you can definitely find somebody.
Sounds good.
So my queens, I actually got them from you 3 years ago, so they need to be pinched.
If you know they haven't replaced her already or haven't swarmed,
Well, I've split the hives, so they didn't swarm, but they're so mean now.
okay.
So like 3 years ago, they were gentle, mild, but now they're like banging us. We can't even mow the backyard, can't even work in the garden.
Sure. No, that's a good reason to replace her.
Right.
You got to remember too that when that queen was mated, she's mating with,
That's
20
right.
different
Okay.
drones, and so maybe she's gotten to the
The mean ones, yeah.
Are you smoking them before you look?
I'm smoking them. I want to replace the queens, but I can't because I can't find the queen to replace her.
So I mean, there's probably a bunch of different reasons why they could be a little grumpy, but
This has been going on for a while, Jen.
I know. I split the hives, and and that chilled them out for a while. But now they're like
Anti-yard work, huh?
yeah, they're like, stay out of the. You can't go anywhere in their path. If you're in their path, I have to wear a veil in the backyard.
that becomes a problem not just for you, but probably neighbors and things like that.
But you know what? They're so prolific. They just keep making so much honey. So it's.
Those are the ones that sometimes do.
I hear that, the meaner the bees,
gotta-
the
you
more
gotta-
honey they
You
make.
gotta choose.
But are really
Honey
nice.
And a lot of times you can get queens with some genetics, that have a good balance.
Well, they've been fine forever. But all of a sudden, they're
Yeah. I would say if she's that old anyways, I'd probably replace her.
okay.
Do you want to start with Sharon?
Yep.
Yeah, I had a hive that was starting to get aggressive, and then what I found is it was queenless. So they were kind of grumpy because they didn't have a queen.
I've got eggs. I've got larvae. I've got.
Yeah.
All right,
Thank you, Seth.
coming out.
I'm just curious,
Right here.
If you can, take your chair and put it in the
Take
closet.
your chair.
Your chair into the other room.